Hello, magical friends, and welcome to another episode of Junk Journal with me. This is a particularly magical episode, as I will explain in a bit. If you're new to this channel, I'm Vervain. Nice to meet you. I make things. Sometimes the things I make are magic. Sometimes the things I make are art. Sometimes, like today, it's both. Art magic. Woo! So today I am angry, and I am angry about things that are not in my control. And so I thought first that I would make some art just to distract myself. And then I thought I kind of wanted to journal about it, but I was having mixed feelings about putting things that I was angry about permanently in my journal. So what I decided to do is to make I had journaled on a little memo pad instead of right in my journal. And what I decided to do was to use an envelope, and you can see I've picked out this beautiful white one, as I'll describe to you in a moment, to create a magic spell for transforming and cleansing away that which angers me. So I picked this white one partially because it's white, and I feel like the energy of the color white is very purifying and cleansing, and very much like the light cancels out the darkness by filling it with light. That is how light cancels out darkness, right? That is how light purifies. And then partially also, the gold also is good vibes. But then if you look at the imagery, it's very subtle. But there's a snake on there. There's a rose on there. I think there's even a butterfly on there. And all of those to me feel like the cleansing, protective, and transformative energy that I wanted. So I'm just picking out a page to put this on here. It's going to take me a second, so bear with me. So I felt like the snake, and I see there's also a spider web, so the snake and the spider are both in the, among the 5 poisons of Chinese tradition, which are poisonous or otherwise associated with negativity creatures that would then be invoked to destroy poison and negativity. So it's kind of like fighting fire with fire. You can read more about that. And then I liked this page because it talks about the full moon and shedding. And I feel like full moonlight is very cleansing, and shedding, of course, is what we're trying to do here. We're trying to release and shed the bad vibes that we carry around by journaling them and then putting them in this pocket. And then there was some other imagery. There was the rose, which I feel like is very cleansing, and we'll talk more about that later, and the snake as well. And then the butterfly, of course, transformation. So here I started just gluing down the flap of the envelope, and then I decided to use my glue tip to also add some runes. So I've just added Thurisaz for a protective boundary, and then Iwas for that leveling up transformation of energy of taking the bad vibes and leveling them up and transforming them into art and good vibes. And then we've got Laguz, which is a water rune and a moon rune. And I feel like there's not a cleansing rune, but if you had to pick a rune to be the cleansing rune, I would pick Laguz. And I did have to pick a rune to be the cleansing rune for this, and I picked Laguz. So there we go. Just gluing that flap down, and then we can continue. So then I knew that I wanted to decorate my envelope magically and decoratively. And I'm just kind of starting to go through the stamps that I have and pick out anything to me that feels cleansing and transformative. So I ended up grabbing this Ouroboros, which is actually the first stamp that I ever carved, which I felt continues that symbolism of the snake moving forward, but also adds that extra level of the snake is actually the Ouroboros specifically is the snake, and it is the symbol of destroying that which no longer serves us to make room for the new, and destroying the negative energy in our tail and to feed the head. And I feel that is the vibe here. And so I kind of envisioned stamping out and then fussy cutting all these things and doing the Ouroboros, like encircling the candle flame and then doing like a candle for the energy that I'm doing here. So I stamped out the snake in black, which I almost never use black ink. In fact, I think this is the first time that I've ever used this black ink, because I don't know, I'm just more of a brown girly, but I like the warm neutrals. But I felt like for this sort of cleansing and protective energy, I wanted the black ink. And once I stamped out the black snake, I decided that I wanted to kind of dress up the snake a little more, give it a pattern, and I decided to give it a runic pattern made of the rune Thorisaz. So I just carved a little Thorisaz stamp here, and I was stamping it out with green ink. Green, I feel like both kind of being like a poison color, but also being a color of like life and growth and rebirth and renewal and change and all those things. And so I'm just stamping out a pattern of these Thorisaz runes in the green, and then I guess I'm fussy cutting it out, and then I go back actually and add another little element to this design. I had made this tiny dot stamp the other day, and I wasn't happy with like the original thing that I made it for, but I thought it worked great to add some reddish dots to this design. I felt like the red was just another like poison and protection and fire of transformation color, and it just felt appropriate. So that's what I did. Sometimes you don't have to be able to logic it out. You just have to feel like it's right. And that's magic, folks. So I have now stamped out this black candle. This is one of my favorite stamps that I have ever carved. I love having a candle stamp, and I've especially loved using it for little candle spells lately. Please excuse my head popping into the frame here as I'm trying to get real close to see what I'm doing here. Because once again, I decided that I needed a couple more different little runes to quote-unquote carve into this candle. I'm not carving them into the candle. I'm carving them into the rubber and then stamping them onto the candle. But we're going to pretend that I'm carving them into the candle. So I definitely wanted to use the Thorisaz that I had just carved, but then I wanted to use Dagaz as well, which is what I'm carving here, which is very much a rune of transformation. It's a rune that kind of signifies the place between, like the place where the transformation happens. It is the door, it is the dawn, it is the thing between two other things that is neither of those things and that is somehow its own thing. It is that liminal space, and I feel like this spell envelope that I'm creating is the liminal space between anger and transformed, alchemized anger, or like negative emotion and healed negative emotion, or you could say negative emotion and art, or you could put this any number of ways. And then I also carved, I guess that was really quick there, I also carved a little laguz for reasons I feel like I described sufficiently earlier, and I'm now just going to fussy cut out this candle. I decided not to color this candle. I felt like the black ink outline and the white of the candle were the colors that I wanted. So that is what I went with. And here I'm getting ready to stamp the flame of the candle. I knew that I wanted to do this in gold embossing powder and get that beautiful glistening flame effect. I would have really liked to have been able to stamp it directly on the envelope, but there was like, different layers, like it wouldn't have gone evenly across, and I think there was some open space where there like was no envelope where I wanted the flame to go. So I decided to stamp it on this vellum instead. I'm just using my Versamark ink here, which is great for embossing, and then we're putting some gold embossing powder on, moving that around, getting that where it needs to go. And then the heat gun part is really satisfying, so let's zoom in so we can all appreciate this together. God, I love watching this happen. So satisfying. And look at that beautiful golden shimmering candle flame. And I decided to rip this out. I just kind of wanted the ripped edge. It felt more like not a thing than having a cut edge would feel like. I don't know if that makes sense. Like, I wanted it to feel like the vellum was like not really there. It was just a flame. And so that's what I chose to do, and I'm done defending it now. So I'm gluing down the flame, and then I'm gluing down the Ouroboros here, and then I believe I also go right to glue down the candle. Yeah, let's do it. Let's commit. Beautiful. I'm really pleased with how this all came together. And so then I did decide that I wanted to add some things inside and around. Oh, I forgot about this. And around the envelope. So I've got my sword here, which I feel like is both, like, I don't know, like it kind of semi represents some things about like what's going on here, but also I felt like I was kind of creating a boundary to like protect the rest of my journal from the energy that goes into this envelope, so that like this spell is self-contained. The stuff that I put into this envelope does not none of these negative vibes that I put into this envelope is going to go contaminate the rest of my journal. And then these mushroom stamps were some of the first stamps that I pulled out when I was thinking about like transformation and cleansing, because I feel like mushrooms are such a powerful, not just symbol, like they actually do this. They actually compost dead shit that we don't need, that's not good, and they turn it into beautiful life and delicious, yummy protein. And I fucking love mushrooms, dude. I could wax poetic about mushrooms for a long time, but instead I'm just gonna stamp them in my journal here for their powerfully transformative composting energy. And I feel like I might use this page later to write like a poem or a spell or something, or some lyrics, something like that, about like transformation and transforming negative energy. I don't probably want to like journal about specific negative experiences or feelings on these pages, but I feel like adding words like that later would be a really powerful addition to this page. So that's kind of what I'm envisioning happening down the line. And then you can see I stepped out for a minute to go grab my collection of damask rose petals from my altar box or altar cabinet, and a couple of oils as well. And I decided that I wanted to put these roses in here, but I specifically wanted to blow the roses into the envelope. So I'm creating a bit of a mess. And I blew the roses 3 times, and then I just put the rest in there by hand, because, you know, you can't always get what you want. But you can get all the roses in the envelope if you're willing to use a couple different methods. And blowing roses, if you're not familiar, I feel like it is a more, I feel like it's usually done as like an energetic practice and not as like a literal blowing roses, but it's like you visualize rose petals or a rose in your hand, and then like put all of your everything that you're trying to like cleanse and wash away into that rose or those rose petals, and then you blow it away. I do find it to be a powerful thing with actual rose petals, and I have often done this, like blowing roses just away into the wind to let them go, be gone, and do their, take it away to be composted by the earth, by probably mycelial structures in the earth. Yeah, anyhow, so I was kind of trying to recreate that energy in this envelope by blowing these roses into this envelope, so there will forever be the energy of blowing roses in this envelope to transform whatever else I put into it. Speaking of transform, I've just grabbed 2 oils here, and the first one is transformation, and I'm deciding to put them on this little disc that was the inside of the Ouroboros. So we're just doing, I guess, just 1 drop of transformation, rubbing that in. And then we've got spearmint, which is one of my favorite, like, cleansing and freshening herbs and oils. I feel like it is just really powerful. And then forgive me, because the footage got a little blurry after I focused on those oils, but I popped the little bit of negative journaling that I did about my anger on that memo pad into the envelope, lost some rose petals, put them back in, and sealed this all away to do its thing. And honestly, I feel way better now. So I came back the next day, actually just to get like some beautiful shots of this finished page for the end of the video, and I decided that I really wanted to put my personal sigil on this page to kind of like seal and finish the work, I guess, if you will. So that's just what I'm doing here. And I also have to say, coming back to this page, oh my God, it smells so good. And it smells so refreshing. I'm not kidding. Like, I can barely smell the transformation. I'm sure it's doing its thing, but I really smell the spearmint. And it's so fresh. It's so, like, coming to this page, even knowing it's full of angry writing inside the envelope, it feels refreshing coming here. So I feel like this is doing the trick. I definitely feel like this was the practice that I needed to work through my emotions and turn them into something productive and positive today. And I'm hopeful that this magic that I have now made in this journal will last into the future, so that in the future, when I have other things that are making me sad or angry or upset or whatever, and I want to journal them out and get them out of my system, I can do that and now have a place to put them where I don't feel like they are like contaminating all of the love and beauty and positive magic and manifestation that also lives in my journal. Like, I really wanted those things to kind of be separate. And I feel like there is a really strong boundary now between them. And I feel like there is a really strong, honestly, like transformative power around the space where I can now put those negative things. So I'm feeling really good about this. I'm feeling really positive about this. I hope that this was inspiring for you. Let me know in the comments if you do decide to try anything like this for yourself in your own journal. I would love to hear about it. I would love to see it. Or if you have done anything like this before, I'd still love to hear about it and I'd still love to see it. And yeah, thank you so much for watching. Please do like and subscribe if you haven't already and you got this far. And I will see you around in my next video. Have a wonderful, magical day, and goodbye for now.